This hour, we begin with the latest in the breaking news in the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk, friend and ally of U.S. President Donald Trump. It is an uncertain moment in the States that threatens to sharpen knife-edge political tensions in that country. And this is, of course, also September the 11th, traditionally a day for unity in America. This is a live look at Ground Zero in New York. Observances begin this hour, and we will have live coverage of all three sites. We know that Donald Trump will take part in the ceremony next hour at the Pentagon in Virginia. We'll see at that time if he has anything more to say about Charlie Kirk's killing. In a speech to the nation yesterday, he called it a dark day for America.
Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree.
Charlie Kirk is credited with helping Donald Trump return to the presidency, swinging young voters to the MAGA movement and the Republican presidential ticket last November. He's also remembered as a close friend to Vice President J.D. Vance and to Trump's eldest son, Don Jr. This morning, Kirk's millions of followers are remembering him as a powerful voice in U.S. politics.
I was 4 people in front of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was one of my greatest heroes, and I looked up to him a lot. Role model. He was a role model of mine.
This is video from one of the many vigils for Kirk. People gathering outside the hospital where he was rushed after being fatally shot. The outpouring this morning is coming from Trump's MAGA movement. There are as well condemnations of political violence from across the U.S. political spectrum and from here in Canada, indeed from leaders around the world. We have live coverage for you this morning from the scene. Steve Futterman is on the university campus in Orem, Utah. Willie Lowry is in Washington, and in a moment he's going to bring us more on how America's political capital is reacting. Willie, just stand by if you would, because I'd like to begin with Steve. The search for the shooter now continues, Steve. We have no word of briefings from police or any updates from them. What is the latest this hour?
Well, Heather, it is a massive manhunt involving state, federal, local law enforcement agencies trying to determine who fired that one shot that killed Charlie Kirk. It's the mystery that's been going on. We're now approaching around 20 hours since the shooting took place. They do know where the shooter was, around 200 meters away from where Charlie Kirk was situated on top of a building here, so they know that. They're using many high-tech methods to try to maybe pinpoint, try to use cell phone records, pings as they call them, to find out who may have been in that area. But it's a very, very difficult situation right now for them. They've asked the public to bring them any videos that might be of interest. They're looking at security camera video as well, anything that might give them a clue. Now, they might know a lot more than they're telling us, but at this moment, they're acting as if they don't know that much. Let's take a look at, you spoke earlier, Heather, with Kenneth Gray. He's a retired FBI agent, and he talked about the complications of this investigation right now. Let's take a listen to that.
We have yet to even know the round, what size the round was, what kind of rifle was likely used to commit this shooting. You can't conduct a manhunt without having an idea of who the man you are hunting is.
So he talks about how difficult the situation may be right now. Again, do authorities know more than they're telling us? Very often they do, but they don't want the perpetrators to know that they're on to their case. So there may be something that they're aware of right now that we aren't aware of. Now, again, as I mentioned before, they are asking eyewitnesses to come forward. If you had a clue, if you saw something that you think might be interesting to us, please tell us. These are a couple eyewitnesses yesterday who might be among those who could tell authorities something that might be a critical clue. Listen to them.
Suddenly, it sounds like lightning. It was so loud, I thought the shooter was right there in the crowd.
It sounded exactly from behind us, and that's why I was so worried, and I looked, but I couldn't find anything. But you could also see, obviously, from the way that the blood just, it definitely was from behind. so. Or in front of him, I would say, you know.
So lots of emotion from many of the people who were here at the area yesterday. I'm at the university. The assassination, the killing took place behind these buildings to my left. We're not able to get to that area. But Heather, one thing I want to point out is we've talked about this morning, a law enforcement source that I know has said for him one of the key things is one shot being fired. He cannot recall any incident in the mass shootings we've had or political shootings that we've had where it's just one shot fired, a direct shot that hit its target. No one else was injured. No one else was apparently targeted in this situation. That to him, he says, is very critical as they try to find out who this person or perhaps people were.
That's an interesting fact to explore through the day, Steve. I'm wondering, let's come back to some of the images that we've seen so far of vigils for Charlie Kirk. There was one at the hospital. There was one in the state legislature, a number of them last night. How is he being remembered there this morning?
Well, you know, the people who were just, they adored Charlie Kirk. People who were sort of on his side, who saw things the way he did. He was a very charismatic figure. They had around 3,000 people here yesterday, and it's just been an outpouring of grief from those mostly on the right, who just really adored this man. He established this remarkable political base, Heather. In the last 10, 15 years, he established a very powerful, conservative, youthful base that really, as we've talked about before this morning and in the past, really helped Donald Trump win the re-election last year. So they are remembering him in a much different way than people on the left are remembering him. Everyone talks about the charismatic way he was, how he could actually push people's buttons both on the left and right, but they have different views about what he was saying at times. But let's take a listen to some of these people at these vigils. They've been taking place here in the Provo-Orem area, also in Salt Lake City. Let's take a listen to some of these people who were attending these very moving moments last night.
You can take away his life. You will not stop the movement because God is in charge and freedom and truth will prevail in this nation.
The first things of the Constitution is freedom for life, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and both of those were taken from Charlie today. I mean, he was out there expressing his views, his values, what he thought was most important, and having a debate about it, trying to get people to talk to him about it and have a free and open conversation. That's all it was.
And you know, Heather, we talked about this morning, Gavin Newsom certainly didn't agree with Charlie Kirk on many policy issues, but they actually established a very nice relationship, and he was very, very forceful yesterday, talking about how this shooting, this killing was just a horrible thing yesterday. So he had people on the left who didn't like his views, but they had certain respects for him. Heather, today we do expect at some point, I don't have a time right now, we do expect a briefing from law enforcement, from officials here in Utah to give us some progress. We hope there's some progress in trying to determine who the killer was or killers were. We just don't have a time right now. But again, this massive search continues. One thing, Heather, I'll point out before I toss it back to you. One thing officials are concerned about, they don't want this to become a situation where people want to do payback, want to get even. That's one of the big concerns that law enforcement, not just here in Utah, but across the U.S. have right now. They don't want this to trigger a response of someone feeling that they have to pay back the other side, even though at this point, Heather, we have no idea what the motive might have been.
Such an important point, Steve, the threat of this spiraling into more political violence is something I'm going to speak with an expert about this very hour, in fact. So thank you for raising that. Steve Futterman, who is live and going to be leading our coverage from Utah. And again, thank you, Steve Futterman. I want to show you some live pictures in Washington this morning as we bring in Willie Lowry in just a moment. But as we take a look at the White House, you can see the flags lowered there. And we had a viewer write in to say, is this for 9/11, the anniversary? In fact, this was at the order of Donald Trump, who has ordered the flags lowered to half-mast until Sunday in tribute to Charlie Kirk. And as we bring in Willie, he's going to tell us more about what the president has been saying in reaction to the killing yesterday and the reaction from lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Willie, what are you hearing so far?
Well, Heather, it's really still one of shock. This is a city and country reeling and on edge. And just to give you a sense of how consequential the killing of Charlie Kirk is here in the U.S., it's front page news of pretty much every major newspaper across the country. Here's the New York Times. Charlie Kirk dies after being shot on a Utah campus. The Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, pretty much the same thing. Charlie Kirk was a big personality here in Washington within Republican and conservative circles, and many are taking this personally. President Donald Trump, a close friend of Kirk's, as you already mentioned, ordered flags across the country to half-mast and issued a series of tributes on social media, as well as in an address from the Oval Office.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
And reaction on the Hill, where Democrats and Republicans, of course, rub shoulders every day. Tense. A moment of silence descended into awkwardness when Speaker Mike Johnson asked lawmakers to pray. Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna blaming Democrats for that incident inside the Capitol building and for Kirk's death.
That type of rhetoric is the exact type of rhetoric that got him killed. They did cause this. That type of rhetoric, you calling people fascists, you basically saying that we're Nazis, taking away people's rights. Charlie Kirk was literally murdered.
And there's an anxiety palpable from both sides that this is a seminal moment, or as many on the right are calling, a turning point, a reference to Kirk, the nonprofit that Kirk started. Here's Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
The assassination of Charlie Kirk risks an uncorking of political chaos and violence that we cannot risk in America. We cannot.
And again, that's a sentiment that's really been echoed by many on both sides, Heather.
Willie, one of the other areas of reaction which is really striking is from all four of the former living presidents from across the spectrum, of course. What are they saying about this?
Oh, that's right, Heather. All four living former presidents have issued statements, the tenor and sentiments of them almost identical. Joe Biden saying, quote, "There is no place for this kind of violence in the U.S." Barack Obama cautioning the motive for the killing is still unknown. And that's a point that was echoed by several leaders. And the lone living Republican, George W. Bush, saying violence and vitriol must be purged from the public square. And finally, Bill Clinton urging Americans to engage in debate passionately yet peacefully. So really just pleas from America's former leaders to turn the temperature down.
Willie, thank you so very much. The reaction from Washington this morning.